Hey, it's Donna, your Columbus real estate partner, and we are back for week 10, chapter 10 of Selling Your Home for the First Time. And this is the Confident Seller Series. August the 5th, Wednesday, August the 5th. I'm back. Thank you so much. If you have been watching my videos for the last 9 weeks, I hope you got some good information, some knowledge that you can take away, that you can just help to inform yourself about the selling process whenever you are ready to pick up the phone and call a realtor to assist you in that process. Today, we are talking about inspections, appraisals, and the closing process. But if you've been with me for the last 9 weeks, you know how I start every session of the Confident Seller Series, and that is to go through the introduction that comes directly from my book. So let's get to it. Selling your home is one of the biggest financial decisions that you will ever make, and doing it right the first time can save you time, money, and stress. Yet, many first-time sellers don't know where to begin. This guide is here to change that. Created for homeowners across the country, it breaks down every step in the home selling process, from preparing your property to negotiating offers and closing the sale. This book is also designed to be timeless, so no matter what market you are in, these strategies will guide you through confidently. With 27 years in real estate, I have helped hundreds of homeowners navigate the selling process, the smooth closings, the unexpected plot twists, and the joyful handoff at the closing table. What you will learn in these series is how to prepare your home for the best return, how a realtor can protect your financial interests, why pricing is both an art and a science, what makes a home irresistible to buyers, how to evaluate offers with clarity and confidence, ways to time your sale for your next home purchase. Selling a home isn't just about putting a sign in a yard, it's about strategy, experience, and smart decisions. So welcome to the Confident Seller Series, where I will help you sell smart, avoid costly mistakes, and move forward with confidence, not confusion. Let's jump right into it. So, chapter 10, inspections, appraisals, and the closing process. So, once you accept an offer as a seller, you are entering the most detailed and time-sensitive phase of the sale. So, this stage is going to determine whether the deal closes smoothly or it encounters some delays, which we do not like, renegotiations, or sometimes the cancellation of the offer altogether. So the key to success during this phase is preparation, responsiveness, and strategy. That's where your realtor is going to come in. So what happens after you accept an offer? Many sellers believe that the hard part is over and after the offer is accepted, but in reality, it's not so. I always tell my buyers, you're excited, you're happy that your offer was accepted. Let's get through the home inspection process, because that's when you know, after that's done, that's when I feel like I can breathe a sigh of relief that we are past the home inspection process. So many sellers believe that the hard part is over once an offer is accepted. In reality, this is when deadlines become critical. Buyer expectations are tested. Negotiations often continue, and emotions can resurface. So negotiations often continue. Why is that? Because you're in contract, you've accepted the offer based on the way that the buyer sent it. You may have countered back and forth, but you both came to an agreement and are in contract. Why do negotiations happen then if I'm already in contract? Because the buyer now is doing a home inspection. That home inspection could bring up issues. There could be things wrong with your house that you did not know about, that were not listed on your residential property disclosure that you filled out. And now the buyer is in a dilemma. They're now trying to determine if they want to remain in the property, if they want to remain in contract, if they want to move forward with the property. And if so, do they renegotiate? And what renegotiation looks like at this point is, okay, I like your home. I actually still love your home, but I'm concerned about the age of the roof. I'm concerned about the age of the furnace. I'm concerned that there's double tapping in the electrical box. I'm concerned about the leaky faucet, the broken window. They could be concerned about a litany of things. So the renegotiation comes in where they may say, I still want to buy your house, but I would like a reduced price. Or I want you to fix this, that, or the other. Because what you don't want to have happen is they say, after this home inspection, man, I'm scared now. I don't even want to move forward. That does happen. That's why I like to encourage my sellers to do a pre-listing home inspection. Talked about that probably every week. But once you get in the contract, the goal is to keep you in contract. But those are some things that could happen. And your realtor will manage this phase to keep the transaction on track. Home inspection. So number one, most buyers include an inspection contingency. And that inspection contingency is to say, for one, they want to have a home inspection. They're going to give themselves, 10, 12 days to get a home inspection done. And they're also potentially going to ask you to fix some things. So those inspections that they will have will be sometimes a structural and foundation inspection, depending on the condition of the house, what they may have seen when they toured it, although they loved it. General inspection is going to include the roof, the electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Depending on the age of the house, they may do a sewer scope. They want to make sure that they don't have broken sewer pipes. They want to make sure that there's no galvanized piping. If you are on a large lot and you have a well, they're going to get that inspected. Boundary lines, all those things can be a part of the buyer's home inspection. So expect a detailed inspection report, especially if the buyer comes back and says there are things that they want you to remedy. They're going to show you that inspection report so you can see exactly what the inspector saw and why they wrote it in their report. And then that way you can negotiate. Negotiations are guided by your realtor. They're going to take a look at that once they get the report from the buyer. So as a buyer's agent, I'm also going to be looking at that inspection report. I am going to help my buyer create that request to remedy. That's what the realtor's job is. And then when I send that off with the request to remedy from the buyer, the seller's realtor is going to be looking at that and working with the seller to decide to fix everything, some of the things, or none of the things. Those are the options that the seller has. Because it's important to remember that inspections are not the pass or the fail. Okay, so don't panic. Every inspection finds something. Even if you do a pre-listing home inspection, the pre-listing home inspection is for you, the seller, to be able to know what you are bringing to the market, know the condition of the product you are bringing to the market. And the buyer's inspection is for them. So they can see, okay, these are the things that I have concerns about. Your inspection is going to allow you to be able to get in front of that, to fix those things so that when the buyer does their inspection, the items that pop up are going to be minimal. So yeah, don't panic. Every inspection finds something. Your realtor helps you to determine what is reasonable to address and what is not. So we don't want a buyer to walk into, after they do their home inspection, and say they want to back out because they don't like the color of the paint. No. Or to back out because of something we may consider to be minor, because we also have to consider what may be minor to us may not be minor to the buyer. They may not have someone that can take care of these things down the road. But the goal for all buyers is to ask for items that are safety and health and safety. Yeah, health and safety issues, hazardous issues, things that could potentially be something major 4 or 5 years down the road. You want to get those things taken care of. But I've seen buyers ask for a lot of things, and there are sellers who will accommodate. So it just really depends. But navigating repair requests. Not every request requires action. So your realtor is going to help you with that. Identify, like I said, health and safety issues. Distinguish maintenance from upgrades. and decide between repairs, credits, or a flat out refusal altogether, because you don't have to fix things. If the buyer's requested remedy is unreasonable, you don't have to accommodate that. But you want to still protect your bottom line with all of that, because if it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to fix things, it might be easier for you to just lower the price, use that as a negotiation tactic for the buyer, as opposed to agreeing to pay to fix those things. And so this is where experience prevents over negotiation. Your realtor is going to help you with that. So the appraisal is confirming the value. So if the buyer is financing, the lender orders an appraisal to confirm the value. That is not what the home inspection. The home inspection is to determine the condition, and the appraisal is to determine the value. So if the appraisal comes in at or above, the transaction moves forward. If it comes in low, options may include the seller reducing the price, both parties are compromising, or the buyer canceling altogether if the contingency applies. Because what typically will happen in this day and age now, I'm going to say 10 years ago, we weren't seeing appraisal gaps, but we're seeing that now. And what we're seeing is that if a buyer offers a certain price for a property, if it goes above that list price, so if you have your home listed for $400,000 and a buyer offers you $420 because they're in competition with 5 other buyers, they're either going to they should offer you appraisal gap language. If anytime a buyer now is agreeing to pay more than the house is worth, unless they can prove to you that your house is listed lower than it should be, meaning that you're listed at 400, but you should be listed at 420, because they can prove to you that this house is truly going to appraise for 420. You may not care about gap language, but if you are priced right at 400 with no chance of getting a 420 appraisal, and a buyer offers you 420, you're going to want them to offer appraisal gap language, so that if it does appraise for less, you still get 420, which means the buyer just has to bring that money to closing. So your realtor can help evaluate comparable sales and may challenge the appraisal when appropriate. Title work and escrow. So the title company confirmed, depending on where you are in the country, we use title companies. Some states use attorneys. We in Ohio. So the title company is going to confirm clear ownership, which means they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to search and make sure that the property that you are selling can be transferred to the new buyer without any issue. So if there are any liens or first, second, third mortgages, all of those are going to have to be paid up at closing. So the title company's job is to make sure that the person that is on title is the one that's actually selling the property, and that any liens that are on the property are going to be cleared up and paid at closing, that there are no issues, encroachments, all of that. The title company's job is to make sure that you have a clean title is being transferred from the owner, to the new buyer. And so they identify liens or title issues. They prepare the legal documents. They manage funding through the closing. So this process protects both the buyer as well as the seller and ensures legal transfer of ownership. Managing timelines and contingency. So this stage includes strict deadlines. So once you go into contract, the clock starts ticking on all of the deadlines based on the offer that was presented to you and the offer that you agreed to. So this includes the inspection response period. So typically the buyer will ask anywhere from 7 to 12 days to do their inspection. And then there might be a remedy time period in there as well. Your realtor is going to make sure that those timelines are met. Appraisal timelines, financing approvals, and contingency removals. So if there was home sale contingency and they had so much time, you accepted the offer knowing that they had to sell their property, and there was a timeline that they had to show proof that the property was in contract or sold, your realtor is going to make sure that all those timelines are met. They're going to monitor dates closely and prevent missed deadlines or contractual breaches. The final walkthrough stage. So typically, the final walkthrough is done 24 to 48 hours before closing. And what that final walkthrough does is it ensures the buyer that the property still looks the way it looked when they fell in love with it and decided to make an offer. that any repairs that you agreed to make prior to closing, that those repairs have been fixed. They are done. They are to the satisfaction of the buyer. So that's what that final walkthrough is for. And sometimes even if the buyer did not ask for any repairs, they're still going to want to do a walkthrough because they want to make sure that nothing happened to the house before they close. I just closed on a property last week, and a week before closing, we don't know what happened. Something happened to the garage door and it buckled and needed to be replaced. So the day of the buyer's walkthrough, they walked in to see, well, I gave them a heads up, of course, that the garage door needed to be replaced. And so we replaced the garage door. We closed on a Friday and the garage door was replaced on Thursday. So things happen. You just never know, but you want to make sure that you communicate that. Because what would have happened if I had not communicated that, even though I knew that the door was going to be replaced prior to, and the buyer gets over there and sees that the garage door is buckled? I can imagine what they would have thought. So I prepared them for that, prepared their agent for that. All right. So yes, final walkthrough is typically 24 to 48 hours before closing, and you're ensuring agreed upon repairs are complete, ensure that the home is in the expected condition that it was, and verify anything that would have remained in the property. So in this particular case, also the buyer had asked, my seller was leaving some things behind, and they had a list of things that the buyer wanted. So they wanted to make sure those things were there as well. And so then we get to the closing day. Closing day, you're going to sign transfer deeds, settlement statements, final disclosures. So funds are distributed, ownership transfers, and then the transaction is officially complete. It's complete even if there's post-closing possession. So even if within your offer, within the offer that you accepted, you requested post-closing possession, the buyer is still going to do their walkthrough. They're still going to make sure that the house looks the way that it looked when they made their offer and fell in love, even though there is post-closing possession, and you're still going to be remaining in the house for however long you guys agreed upon to do so. Post-closing tasks. So after the closing, you're going to make sure that you're going to do that before closing, but that's part of post-closing, is canceling or transferring your utilities, especially if you're doing post-closing possession. You want to make sure that before you leave, prior to leaving, that you do that. With post-closing possession also, you're going to want to make sure, because now you are an actual tenant and not the owner of the property. So to protect yourself, because the buyer's homeowner's insurance is not going to protect your property, which is still in the house. So you're going to want to make sure that you've got insurance that covers your belongings that are still in the house that you used to own that is now owned by the new owners. I hope that made sense. So after closing, transfer utilities, make sure you forward your mail. You'd be surprised at the things that people forget. And so that's another thing that is probably a checklist that your realtor should have. I have one to remind your sellers to take care of those things. And deliver keys, garage door openers, and any additional access codes that you may have. So keep your settlement statement for tax and recording purposes, and consult with your accountant or CPA after the fact. When it comes to tax time, there may be some deductions that you can take. So my final thoughts on this one is that closing is a time for celebration. I'm also a notary, and so I enjoy meeting with those first-time buyers and just listening to the stories on how long it took them to find it, and when they found it, just how they felt about it, the excitement of being a first-time buyer. I love that. And of course, I also help sellers when they are selling. And the stories I enjoy. I love my part-time gig as a notary. Helping people is it gives you a good feeling. So Closing is a celebration, but it's also a legal transaction that requires attention through the final signature. When inspections, appraisals, and closings are handled strategically, stress is reduced, surprises are minimized, and closings happen on time, which is what we love as realtors. We do not like delays. So stay engaged, trust your realtor, and remember that you're almost there once you go into contract. I hope you got something out of this session. I did. I was thinking about I went on a couple of soapbox moments last week. We didn't have any this week, but inspections, appraisals, and the closing process. I hope you got something out of that, and I appreciate you for joining me for week 10. This is Donna Jackson, your Columbus Real Estate Partner.